We knew the GOP House was going to launch meaningless investigations into Joe Biden and his family, but we had no idea it would spin into a butthurt email situation so very quickly. Welcome to MOMocrats Mama Chat, part of the DemCast family of podcasts. I'm Donna Schwartz Mills with Aliza Worthington and Karoli of crooksandliars.com. And, you know, I was watching Nicole Wallace before we went on the air, and she led her show with the fact that 1 week ago, they still didn't have a speaker. They were still having all those votes.
And therefore, we still didn't have a Congress.
It feels like a lifetime ago.
Like a year ago. It does.
Yeah. You know, and while I was like saying, okay, what should we talk about today? I'm going, oh my God, that thing in Brazil, that was just on the weekend.
Yep.
They're not talking about it anymore.
You know what was weird to me was they weren't even really talking about it when it was happening, even though it was something that should have been like major news. I mean, I had it up on the site within, I would say, a half hour of hearing about it, and was updating it constantly because it was no different than what happened on January 6th. It was just in a different country. But the thing was, it was totally
players.
Right. It was instigated by the same people.
Except that they had already transferred power, hadn't they?
Yes.
Yes.
They had already completed the...
And he was already sworn in. So they were looking to basically storm the Capitol and have a coup after the fact.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was a big deal.
Miller was in country, wasn't he? At the time?
I'm sorry?
Wasn't Jason Miller in Brazil?
No. So that was one of the things that really pissed me off was as soon as that happened, people started circulating the report about Jason Miller being arrested in Brazil, which actually happened after CPAC.
Okay.
When they were there in 2021.
Okay.
So, yeah. So he wasn't, but it was still, I mean, listen, they have Zoom, they have the internet. Don't kid yourselves. These guys are all being coordinated.
Sitting there, you know, and it's very convenient that Bolsonaro himself was in Florida and suddenly had to go to the hospital.
Right? Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Questions. I'm in the hospital.
Right about the time that his extradition is being called for by numerous different people.
Right.
And everything.
And the other thing that was different was the number of arrests that happened immediately in the immediate aftermath, and them calling for the arrest of the instigators as well immediately.
Yeah. I mean,
so that was the other difference.
2,000 people
go back to their hotel and party.
Yeah, no, they didn't get to do that.
There was none of that. Yeah, I mean, I guess that only happens here. Freedom, liberty. Ironic, but so yeah. I mean, and the thing is, like, you can't prove it, but I'm telling you that Charlie Koch is behind a lot of this because he's the oil man here in the States, and you know he has foreign oil interests all over the world, and you know he not to mention the fact that he's an ideologue,
right? So
I can't prove it. I'm just saying though that you can smell it. You can smell his odor on this.
It walks like a Coke and talks like a Coke.
Yeah,
exactly. It must be one. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, that was the thing that happened on Sunday, and it was barely a blip on the news.
Yeah.
Instead, they would like to play the what about or the both sides game.
Yes.
You know, the butthurt emails game. So yes, news broke that Biden had documents with classification markings. We don't know what those markings are. We don't know if they're even current or anything about it, but that he had them at his at the offices at the think tank where he was before he became president. And
then additional documents were found in his garage, in his locked garage.
Say that again, Donna.
Next to his Corvette.
His Corvette, which we know he cares a lot about. It's his most cherished possession, you know. So these documents were discovered while his office at the Penn Biden Center were being cleared out.
About 10 of them.
And they immediately notified the National Archive.
Right.
And then they did a search.
Who weren't even looking for them, by the way.
Right.
Didn't even know they were missing.
They gave them to the archive the next day. And, you know, the squawking from the media is, this happened just before the election. Why didn't you announce it? Why? It's politics. Well, yeah, maybe. But maybe it's the kind of thing that you don't, you know, it happens quietly all the time with people who are in the government. There's no criminal intent. And most people agree no criminal intent, except that the Republicans in the House are squawking about how there has to be equal treatment, and why aren't you raiding Joe Biden? Well, you're not raiding Joe Biden because he discovered it himself and turned it
also,
over.
Nobody raided Trump either.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so that's the difference here is that, you know, basically the FBI had to go and get a search warrant for Trump because they knew what they wanted and they weren't getting it from him. So they had to actually go seize it from him, as opposed to Biden saying, oh my goodness, Biden himself didn't. He doesn't even know what they are. But his people basically said, oh goodness, these have classification markings. Hey, archives over here, you better come and get these. And, you know, we're sorry. And we'll do a search to make sure that. So I think all of this actually came up because I think his lawyers were searching every box of every documents to make sure that there was nothing in there that they shouldn't have.
Right.
After what happened to Trump. So I think this was like a voluntary, we're going to make sure that we've gotten everything to the archives that's supposed to go there. And if we made any, you know, mistakes, so be it, we'll turn them over.
Right.
And so they finished. So this was November 2nd. So November 2nd, right before the midterms, they think that the FBI should do a Comey and go out there and say, oh, and by the way, we found 10 documents in Biden's, you know, think tank offices.
Should happen because
I mean,
you know, only Democrats need to suffer from FBI interference.
Could we say 2 words really quick here, like Hillary Clinton? Yeah. Speaking of FBI interference, James Comey.
Yeah,
you know, I mean,
that's what I'm saying. They wanted him to do. They would love for a James Comey to happen again. It helps them with Hillary Clinton.
In nonstop coverage. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you caught Karine Jean-Pierre. That, you know, MSNBC actually did broadcast her press conference today.
Oh, that's good.
Just, you know,
that's unusual.
Journalist after journalist asking the same questions about these documents, and she's saying, refer to the Department of Justice. I know you're talking to the White House counsel. I don't have that information. Talk to the lawyers, you know. Well, is it political? You know, I really wanted her to say, fuck you, you know.
Yeah. I know, right? and gesture as she says it so that they get the full effect.
Yeah. And apparently she ignored Steve Doocy, and I couldn't be happier.
She didn't let him ask a question?
Peter Doocy, you mean?
Attention. Yeah.
Peter Doocy.
So did you hear him yesterday, Aliza, on any of what were you thinking? I mean, how rude was that? At that point, I would ignore him too. It'd be like, you know, buddy, you don't get any questions answered for, I don't know, a month, maybe 2.
At least he deserves to. He needs to lose that seat where it is too. He needs to not have that prominent placement in the room. I mean, there's got to be some kind of demotion for that behavior. I mean, how dare he? He's always been, even when he would snark at Jen Psaki, there was at least an air of, I don't want to say respect, but an air of, I feel like there was a line he wouldn't cross. But with Karine Jean-Pierre, as soon as she took over, you just knew that Doocy felt like he was better than her.
Right.
I don't think that he ever thought he was better than Jen Psaki or smarter than Jen Psaki. But I feel like he's got this sense that he can talk down to Karine. And gee, I wonder why that is. Karine Jean-Pierre.
Yep.
And he does it whenever he can. And it's gross. Just gross. And
yeah.
That was, I did see that yesterday, and I wanted to smash my TV.
I mean, I thought just how I could not imagine even asking my mother a question like that in that tone of voice, much less the president of the United States. It was the tone. It was just so rude. It was like, what were you thinking? And the question itself was rude, right? There was one document, I think, that they found in the garage. So it's not like there was a box of documents. There was one document in a box, which was in his locked garage. And Ducey's like, putting documents next to your Corvette in your garage? What were you thinking? I was just,
like she did.
No, this was Biden. He asked us of Biden straight up
yesterday.
Yeah. And that's why as far as I'm concerned, he should not be called on for, I don't know, 2 months minimum, and just move him to the back. Move Emerald from OAN up to the front. What the heck?
Oh, God. Punishment. And oh, my God. I mean, can you at least give Karine Jean-Pierre a break? I mean,
Fair. Okay. Well, we'll have to figure out somebody else then.
But, it's really, really stupid. But honestly, I thought it was going to be a while before there was a problem that was self-imposed,
Well, you know what? I don't even...
I mean, the Republicans are going to Republican no matter what.
Yeah, they are.
They already had these investigations locked and loaded.
Yeah, it was going to be something absurd.
All we're going to hear about now.
So this is self-inflicted to a degree, but I mean, it probably happens every single time there's a turnover of power. Yeah. I mean, it's probably a thing that happened, but because of what, the egregiousness and the criminality of what Trump did, and how completely lacking contrition he was about it, and how, it just makes it this completely probably normal thing that happens every time we change presidents. It turns it into this absurd thing.
Yeah.
And so now Merrick Garland has to have a press conference.
And the special prosecutor.
The special prosecutor. Is it special prosecutor or special counsel?
Special counsel.
Special counsel. Yeah. Oh, okay. You know what? Let him appoint a special counsel. It's out of Garland's office now. He doesn't have to deal with it anymore. It's fine.
I'm fine with it.
He took
he did the right thing.
A counsel who was a Trump appointee, who is a Republican, a conservative.
And they are, what this is going to be.
They're already spinning it as this guy knew about the dossier.
And you have Trump saying, Garland needs to appoint someone who hates Biden as much as Jack Smith hates me. I mean, you can't win with these people. You cannot win,
I mean, and that's the extreme. On the not extreme side, you have what one person observed, and as I agree with, which is that it's always okay to have Republicans investigate Republicans and Democrats, but Democrats are never, ever able to investigate Republicans or
according
Democrats.
To Republicans.
So if you're a Democrat and you have an investigation, a Republican's going to investigate you. I mean, it's just a thing.
Yeah.
And it's just stupid. I mean, the whole thing is stupid. And we haven't even talked about the fact that our classification system is a piece of shit. I'm sorry. But there's no document control. There's no document control to speak of, or at least not good document control. Mm-hmm. And there's stuff that's classified that doesn't need to be. I mean, you see it, like if you look at what got declassified recently, as opposed to what you saw 2 years ago in some of these documents that were that have been released, and just redactions and so on. The stuff that's redacted is stupid.
Yeah.
It's just stupid.
Well, I think that it was apparent just with the Hillary emails and the confusion over what was classified at what time and what wasn't classified at what time. And no wonder that there were a few emails that had classified markings for a time,
Well, that's the other thing, right? We don't even know if these classified markings on these Biden documents were still active or whether they'd been declassified, as opposed to Trump's 300 documents, which were absolutely classified. I mean, we can talk about whether like the Kim Jong-un letter should have been, but it was, and he had it. We can talk about whether Obama's letter to him should have been, but it was, right? So, these were things that the archives are like, wait a second, these things aren't here and they need to be here.
Yeah.
As opposed to Biden's, which we don't even know were still classified.
Right.
The other thing that bothers me a little bit, and I don't want to be a tinfoil hat kind of person, but the timing of all this seems really weird to me. I mean, in terms of
you. I don't want to be tinfoily either.
But I've been discounting everybody saying that about the timing. And, I think that I don't think that the finding of the documents was a timing issue.
I don't either, but
honest, but I think the leak was a timing issue.
It was, and that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, I still maintain that Biden, when Trump got in trouble for his, Biden commanded, go through everything, make sure I don't have anything I shouldn't have. And that's when they found it. But the timing of when we're hearing about this, and, I'm just going to say, fuck Michael Smerconish, who went on a rant this morning that literally woke me up out of a sound sleep.
Oh, my God.
Because he was so like, transparency demanded that Biden tell us all about it back then. And I mean, like, fuck you, right? I didn't need to know. Why do I need to know this? I don't need to know this. To me, it's not news unless there was some effort to like traffic those documents or something. Then yes, I should know about it.
But hide them or fight with the National Archives.
Right. Right. So, I mean, Smerconish this morning was so bad. I literally like had to turn everything off. I couldn't deal with it. He was so stupid.
So
anyway,
we are heading into a 2-year era with a stupid House of Representatives. And we've got a stupid media who is not going to report the truth. They're just going to go with the controversy. And how do we fight that? It's I'm so depressed about it all. I'm going through one of my periodic episodes where I've got to disengage some with what's happening out there and read scandalous royal memoirs.
I was just going to say, read Spare. That'll make it feel better.
I love that book. I'm sorry, I do. And I think that Harry gets way too much hate. And
my husband
listen to it on audiobook.
Who very much identifies as an American now because he's lived here longer than he lived there. He's bought into the whole she's a gold digger thing. He was never a royal. He never liked the royals anyway, but he just thinks Harry should shut up. And, I ordered the hardcover just to irritate him because if I had the Kindle, he wouldn't see it lying on the table.
Well, the thing, what's amazing to me, if we want to talk about media criticism for a moment, is the coverage. That I'm not even talking about what's in England. I'm talking about like the Daily Beast royalist person here.
Well, that guy is
that dude, Tom Sykes is his name. And he is like, he's a hater, man. I'm just here to tell you, like, there's a lot of things in this book, like Harry goes into a lot of like his time in Afghanistan, and stuff. And there, like, occasionally there'll be something dropped that's a little juicy, but nothing nothing big. It's like not in context. But this guy picks out all those little juicy things and then ridicules him with it and says, "Oh, the palace is just furious about this." And I'm like,
Tom Sykes is so moderate compared to the over there. He's absolutely like even keeled, you know. The thing is,
he's not, but compared to there, he is.
Through the 60 Minutes interview with me, and he was like, "Oh, you know, he sounds smart," like a surprise, because he was always portrayed as thick, as he says in the book.
Right.
And I go, yeah, he's smart. I mean, the minute that Harry opened his mouth, I'm like, oh my God, you can just tell he's been through therapy. And then he starts talking about the therapy, and Gareth's going, how did you know that? Because you can tell by the way he is wording these descriptions of his emotions that this man has been through it.
Yeah, he's fluent in that.
He is. And when it was over, you know, Gareth thought, oh, well, you know, he seems very likable. Go, yeah, he does. He does. And, you know, he got very upset. You know, he did not watch the Colbert interview with me, but the Colbert one was fabulous.
So, I wish I'd seen that one. Okay.
I'm listening to the audiobook, and the thing I really like about it is that you hear it in his voice with his tones. And when he talks about the British paparazzi and international paparazzi, I should say, and the British press and you can literally hear his teeth clench when he talks about it. I mean, there's a lot of anger, and rightly so. I mean, some of the stuff that got reported about him that was just absolutely false.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like his anger is not with the palace. It is with the press. And the press takes that and makes it about the palace. It's just bizarre. But anyway, it's a great memoir. I recommend it.
Yeah.
But back to our Congress.
I do want to get I do also I want to get it on audio because I would like to listen to it.
Yeah, it's great.
But I also feel like I should get the book because I just have a thing about holding the book in my hands, but
I tried subscribing to Audible. I just don't do books on tape. You know, I have to read them. And
so I used to be like that, but now now I listen and I walk at the same time. So that's my thing.
I like it if I'm on a long car ride by myself. I like it.
See, I don't do any.
So anyway,
so
back to Congress.
Back to Congress,
because there's some serious stuff coming up.
Kevin's little deals. Kevin's little backroom deals that he insisted didn't happen. The 3 pages of concessions that
did you see our press asking, are these written down? Did you see our reporters being like, do we have written deals here or?
I know. And we have the committee to suppress the insurrection.
Right.
That was one of the promises, and that's headed up by Jim Jordan. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I mean, in the first 3 days, they passed a law to rescind the IRS agents in the Inflation Reduction Act, which means $114 billion less in revenue if they actually were able to get that done. But they're not going to be able to get that done because it's not going to go through the Senate.
Right.
So that's the consolation you have here is that there's a lot of symbolism going on, but none of it's going to get through the Senate. Everybody knows it. So it's just performative.
And Biden's not going to sign any of it, you know?
No, it's the flip side of how it was when we had the House, not the Senate, and Trump was president.
Yeah, but we also passed stuff in the House, right? I mean, we passed budgets, we passed appropriations bills, we got stuff done with the Senate that we wouldn't otherwise have gotten done. And there was a lot of people that didn't like how that sausage was made because we had to give up some to the Republicans. But we didn't sit around and just pass, bills all day that we're never going to get anywhere in the Senate.
Correct.
And that's because Nancy Pelosi is a goddess. But
right,
but Republicans in the first 3 days of. Go ahead.
I mean, aren't we going to hit the building in like 2 days now?
not 2 days, but January 19th, which is next Thursday, Janet Yellen said basically that's the debt ceiling, and then they have to take measures, right? And there are things they can do to, for that. It's not like we're going to default on January 19th, but the notice has been given to the House. Get serious about this. You have to do something, and you have to do something soon.
The House full of clowns is not going to get serious. They're just going to hold the whole world economy hostage.
So do you think there's four Republicans that would join with all of the Democrats to get a clean debt ceiling through into the Senate?
I hope so, but I doubt it.
I think there might be more than four even.
I think so?
I mean, I think that you've got this like Freedom Caucus group that's the 40. That's the noisy ones that you hear a lot from. All the Republicans are insane in their own ways, but a lot of them are still corporate in the sense that they don't want to tank the global economy, and defaulting on the debt would do that. So,
but I hope
I think that
I hope that we can find some way to get around the noisy ones, as you call it.
Yeah. Because the other option is that they're just going to hold out and tank the global economy in order to cut Social Security and Medicare, which is what they want.
Yes.
What they want are these deep cuts to, and they can have those over my cold dead body. And if I have to go to Washington, D.C. and stand in their offices, I will.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe we should switch our trip from New York to D.C.
Well,
they won't be in their offices on a weekend, so
yeah,
that's kind of
exactly. Certainly not on a holiday weekend,
right?
So,
are you guys coming on a holiday weekend?
Yeah, President's Day weekend.
Yeah, it's President's Day weekend. But we are all going to be together because you have a reservation at the hotel too.
I know, but I'm just saying I didn't realize that was President's Day weekend.
Yeah.
I didn't, but when we booked it, but
I have my reservation and everything. I got my train tickets.
Yeah. So we'll be in New York, folks. President's Day weekend.
That's right. MOMocrats are going to New York, man. Big time. Yeah. Big fun.
So McCarthy's era as speaker, they've done the IRS funding, they've done the debt ceiling. Did you see those reports that he wants to erase Trump's 2 impeachments?
Wait, what? How do you do that?
I've heard about that, but I don't think that you can do that with just a small, thin majority, can you?
How do you even do it with a large majority? How do you erase an impeachment?
Well, I mean, you could pass something that said we hereby erase these impeachments.
Yeah,
but it's not going to change the fact that the congressional record has those impeachments in there.
That's my question. Can they erase the congressional record? Is that what they're trying to do?
They can't.
Okay.
Because the crazies are driving the bus.
Mm-hmm.
Period. The crazies are driving the bus. And so they're taught, like with these documents, one of the crazies, whose name I keep forgetting, is implying that he knows what's in them, that it's all about Ukraine and China.
That's some bullshit.
With Hunter. And coming out of it.
You predicted this, right, Donna? You predicted this. You said they're going to do an investigation into Hunter and they're going to link it to Biden.
Yep.
And, they're going to try to use that to impeach him. And the only thing that you've gotten wrong is that there happens to be a circumstance where they can pretend the Biden is the guy that has the problem. That's all.
Yeah.
Because of Hunter or some such. I mean, whatever. Right. Then, the whole thing is.
And then the same thing where they are, you wouldn't let Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert on committees. So now we're not going to let Eric Swalwell and Adam Schiff and Ilhan Omar on committees.
Not only that, but we're going to slander Eric Swalwell.
They are slandering Swalwell.
What are they slandering him with? The Chinese spy bullshit again?
Yeah, Kevin McCarthy, if you had the security briefing I had, you wouldn't let Swalwell on any committees either.
Yeah, he says that Swalwell couldn't pass a security clearance.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Could he?
No.
I would love to know if Kevin McCarthy could pass a security clearance.
But, you know, these bozos now are going to be getting these security briefings, you know?
Right.
They are. That's the scary.
And speaking of bozos, can we just talk about George Santos for a minute and how that's going?
What a segue. How artful.
So George Anthony DeVolder Santos, right?
He uses every single combination of those names.
So the dude has aliases up the yin, and there's actually a group on. We had an article on this on Crooks and Liars today. There's actually a group that is online on WhatsApp. That's like people from Brazil, people from New York, people from wherever he's been. They've gathered together now in a group so that they can all share all the lies and the things he stole from them. Like he stole jewelry from somebody. He saw
that. He emptied her bank account and stole her jewelry.
Yeah.
Well, this is just the normal Republican Party nowadays.
And he told her, he said, "This is a bad neighborhood. You should let me keep your jewelry." And then he pawned it.
And then wasn't her sister in
caveat emptor, I mean.
Right. His sister owes $40,000 in back rent. She's being evicted for because she's not paying it. And you know, as speaking as somebody who has personal knowledge of how crappy it feels to be the landlord who is not only out tens of thousands of dollars, but also has to do the eviction and pay for that. I mean, fuck him and fuck her. I mean, they're just con artists, and they're out about it. They're as Donna says, this is no different from any other Republican. It's just that they're out about it, and you know, he's gotten caught because he's stupid, right? I mean, he's a stupid thief.
Smart enough to get elected, and I still want to know where the money came from.
Well, so I have my doubts about the $700,000 loan, right? So that's what we want to know.
Of course, or the exactly $199 dinners, you know?
Yeah, that's weird.
Right. Yeah, well, that's that's just a blatant lie, right? I mean, that's like like I don't have to show receipts, so for $199.99, that's just like if you're a tax auditor, you look at that and say,
what?
Disallowed, all of it, right? I mean, so, yeah, that's just bogus. And this guy, the thing that's so frustrating is that because he's a Republican, because he's a typical Republican, and because Kevin won't do anything about it, right? He can sit there and say, well, 142,000 people voted for me. Until they say I shouldn't be in office, I'm in office. I'm not going to resign. And there's not a damn thing anybody can do about it. And the whole like Republican Party in his district has called for him to resign. Yeah. And one of them, I mean, just like, this is just an example of what a compulsive liar this guy is. He told one of them that he was captain of the volleyball team at a college he didn't even attend. And that he won the state championship.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't.
That's really colorful. I mean, it's not funny. It's not.
No, it would be funny if it was, you know, if it was something that the writers put together.
It was a movie.
It would be funny if it was real life, but it's real life.
And the fact that the people leading the House of Representatives
are like, yeah. I mean, well, I mean, they did have as Speaker of the House a child molester, so you know, there is that.
Yeah, and
a serial child molester.
And now the head of judiciary.
is the guy that overlooked all the molestation.
All kinds of child molestation.
I really would like to see that supposed documentary that no wonder it hasn't been shown. It's owned by John Malone now.
Oh, right.
What is that? I missed all that connection. What are you talking about?
There was a documentary that George Clooney produced for HBO Max on
about Ohio State.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been shown. And one of the reasons it hasn't been shown is that since Discovery bought HBO, they've been just shedding productions that they paid for. They're just never going to show as
Hi, Kitty.
losses.
Hi.
Hello, Kitty.
I love it.
Are they not showing it for political reasons?
We don't know.
Well, John Malone.
That's why I'm asking. I don't know who that is. Is he a prominent right winger or?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Big funder of Republicans
on these of Discovery, which now owns HBO and CNN.
Okay.
It all comes together when you understand that. What's happening at CNN,
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. It's terrible. So yeah, we have Trump, who's a crime ring unto himself, who, oh, by the way, got fined this fine, actually, I looked at it and I said, really? 1.7 million is the maximum fine that the Trump organization could be fined for lying about their taxes in the state of New York.
For years.
That's it.
For years.
Yeah, for 10 years.
Yeah.
Right? And Weisselberg goes to jail. They get 1.7 million, which probably won't even pay for the costs of the investigation and the trial.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
That they did. And it's just like, something is not right about that. Yeah.
It is. It's fucked up. But, again,
I still have
how many different things are you going to be pissed off about? She got the maximum. She got him. I'm sorry. It doesn't hurt as bad as we wish it did.
No, I know. It was just more, it wasn't her. It was just more like something's not right about a law where the state lost millions of dollars, right, in tax revenues because they lied about it. And the most they get back is 1.7 million. I'm not at all.
You would think that they would also be compelled. You would think they would be compelled to pay the taxes actually owed plus interest.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and maybe they are. I mean, maybe that's a piece of the story that we haven't been told. I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens with that.
Yeah.
I still think Letitia James is just like a badass.
Oh, yeah.
She is. So is Bonnie Willis.
Yes. Yes. And we know that we're going to see something from that grand jury
soon.
Yeah.
Something soon.
Yeah.
So accountability, we hope, is finally going to happen.
Yeah.
Let's see. Inflation is down.
But nobody's talking about it. I mean, even this is like the third month in a row that inflation has come down.
Again, this is what's wrong with our media. I mean, how much did they inflame the fears about the economy? How much of the volatility?
They won't talk about inflation being down because eggs are expensive.
Right.
But that's because of the avian flu.
Right.
Because of avian flu.
Bird flu.
Which is not Biden's fault, but they'll make it an economic issue.
Right.
They'll make it a Democratic, eggs were expensive when the Democrats were in charge.
Right.
And that's the media's, fault.
But that's the media's. What's interesting to me is even the Wall Street Journal has come out and said inflation is actually down there, and we shouldn't be talking about a recession because it looks like we actually are going to have a soft landing on this.
Mm-hmm.
And yet you still hear over and over again, there's going to be a recession, blah, blah, blah. And it's gross. It's just, it drives me crazy. But yes, inflation is down. Hey, tell everybody inflation is actually down.
Inflation is down. It's been coming down. And, you know, the fact that the U.S. did not experience inflation to the same extent as the rest of the world can be attributed to the Biden administration's policies.
Yep. Yes, indeed.
And the stock market is going up.
Yes, it is. Though I don't trust it yet.
It's a very reactive. It's very reactive, and it's not the whole economy, but it's reactive.
Right. It is.
So there was an announcement earlier this week that Katie Porter is running for Senate.
Yep.
Anne Feinstein has not announced that she's retiring, although I fervently hope she will. A lot of people I understand her trying to jump on top of it, but it was not good optics for it to happen while our state was underwater.
Yeah, it was really bad timing.
Facing storms and is underwater, and she's being rightly criticized for that. Barbara Lee may also jump in. Adam Schiff.
She said that she would.
Yeah.
Barbara Lee said on Wednesday she would.
Okay. So Barbara Lee, and she would be an African American woman. She's not as young as these other candidates, so she would probably just do one term. Because she's 76, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and the good news as a Californian is that I think we're going to have a great primary. And Dianne Feinstein's not going to run again. I'm sorry. She's not. She's not raising money. She's not doing, she's not going to run again.
And I don't, even those of us who voted for her the last time.
Right. Won't do it again.
Yeah. We're not going to do it again. It's time for her to retire.
Right. And so we have these three great candidates, and the thing that makes me happiest about that, I'm not going to endorse anybody, is that we'll end up with two Democrats in the final.
And they'll both be women.
They'll both be what?
Good.
Women.
We have a deep bench of good candidates.
Yeah.
In the state.
So, what do you mean they'll both be women?
No,
because I think it'll be Barbara Lee and Katie Porter that end up as the two Democrats.
You don't think Adam Schiff will?
I don't think he'll come through the primary. I'd be surprised if he did. Let me put it that way. So, I like Adam Schiff. Don't get me wrong. And he's definitely got a somewhat national presence from his impeachment activities. But I believe that in this state, it'll be between Barbara Lee and Katie Porter.
Okay. We will go back to Karoli's prediction when the time comes.
That's right. You can either prove me right or wrong on that. But what it guarantees is a Democrat will be in the Senate no matter which one of those two wins.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not a Katie Porter fan.
Oh, I am.
I don't live in California, so.
Yeah.
I just worry about her district if she runs. And
me too, because I don't think anybody else will be able to win that district.
That's why I would rather someone from a safe district
lose us a seat in California.
Yeah.
And
I think bridge in 2024. We'll see.
It just depends on the primary. That she doesn't have to. I don't think in California she has to give up her seat unless she actually gets elected.
But wouldn't she have to also then run for the House?
Yeah, I think what would happen is that the primary, she basically run for both through the primary, and then depending on the outcome of that, she would be where she decided about her seat now.
Yeah.
If she decided to run against, in the primary, I guess I don't know the timing of when your primaries are.
Primary is March. Okay. So she'd have plenty of time between March and November to still run for
decide to run for the House again. Yeah. I found her I find her generally just kind of performative, and I don't like it.
Okay.
I don't like what she did with that book. I don't.
I loved what she did with the book.
I thought it was insulting. The guy who wrote that book, The Art of Not. First of all, I can't think of a time when you really don't want to send the message that you don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Except maybe
I know why she did it. I'm just like, you guys got to, say you love her. I'm saying I don't, because the person who wrote that book is a racist, misogynist.
I don't know anything about the book, so yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, he's a racist, misogynist, Russian adjacent piece of shit. And I feel like Katie Porter treated Maxine Waters like crap. I think she is. I have a lot of issues with her. I am not a fan of hers, and I would much rather have either. I would much rather have either I don't know what she's done. I don't know what she's passed in the House, that anything that really truly has her name on it. I don't know why when people. I mean, I just feel like this whole thing has been a performance. I'm going to wear the same color as the book jacket, so I'll get my picture taken, and I'm going to stand out from people, and I'm going to have this look on my face that says I don't give a fuck. And the book's going to say The Art of Not Giving a Fuck. And then I'm going to get everyone's attention. And then I'm going to, before Dianne Feinstein even announces she's not running, I'm going to announce my run. And it's going to generate all this excitement. And I think it backfired on her spectacularly, and it should.
Yeah. I agree with you.
It did and it didn't. She raised a decent amount of money. So,
well, good for her. But I mean, whatever. It just made a whole lot of people think, this is super disrespectful, and not the way, someone with class and respect behaves. So,
yeah, although speaking as a voter here in California, I am fine with them declaring without Feinstein saying, we deferred to Dianne Feinstein.
We did
6 years ago.
Yeah.
Or 5 years ago, whenever it was. And then Kevin De Leon was who's turned out to be a real prick, was her challenger. And in retrospect, I'd rather have a lot of Democrats running right now and getting their name out there and presuming that Dianne Feinstein retires. She needs to. She should have already.
Oh.
So.
And anyway, moving on.
Into a new feature that I think we'll have no problem filling every week. And it's going to be, what is the right-wing outrage machine squawking about this week?
What culture war battlefronts do we have?
Yeah.
Oh, gee, I wonder.
And so I submit for your approval.
Yes.
Female M&Ms.
Yes. I thought we were going to go with something else.
Purple M&Ms, my favorite color. Even
I saw something about this. What was the deal? What happened?
So the
or is it a
M&M people
thing that the
basically
M&M
put out a purple M&M like in honor of women, and the right wingers got crazy about that.
Well, just that they decided that in honor of women, they were going to put on the package. They're going to have a special package with just female M&M characters.
Oh, jeez.
Right.
And they were upside down because they said we're flipping the script.
Right.
Okay.
And Tucker Carlson went crazy.
He flipped his shit.
Oh my crazy. God. Yeah. Lesbian M&Ms. Some such.
and they saw two. There was an ad or something with two of the female M&Ms sitting on a bench, and they're holding hands. As lady friends often do. So then it was, lesbian M&Ms.
Oh God, that's the worst. Like Tucker Carlson wouldn't give his left nut to have two lesbians in his mouth.
That was terrible. But wait, there's more. There's more. We have to decide which one of these is the bigger war, right? Because we also
you're going to say what I was going to say.
The gas stove.
The stove war.
That's what I thought you were going to say.
And they even have a new act to prevent gas stove, and it's got the initials STOVE.
OVE.
Working your tax dollars at work, friends.
Yeah. They're not going to take. So here's the thing.
Yeah.
Gas stoves apparently are like responsible for a lot of indoor pollution, and particularly in small spaces, right? So, like for example, if you look behind me, I have a small kitchen. It's not a big kitchen. If that was a gas stove, which it could be, but it's not. It's an electric stove. If that were a gas stove, it might actually make me a little more loopy than I already am.
It causes asthma. So basically, what happened is that the EPA, I think it was, wants to do a study. Right. The announcement was they were going to do a study on the effect of the emissions from gas stoves.
Okay. They want to learn things.
Right.
Yeah.
The right wing took it to the Biden government is going to take away your gas stove.
It's like the light bulbs.
Yeah. Now, mind you,
I want to see the Gadsden flag. If they're going to make a new Gadsden flag with a stove on it.
Yeah. In California, there is already a law, or there's going to be. It hasn't been enacted yet, but the proposal is that in new construction, it will be electric. There will be no gas hookups in new construction because of the indoor pollution that is emitted from gas appliances.
Even with
it's gas.
Washers and dryers and stuff?
Yeah. They're not talking about forcing people who have existing homes to get rid of them. Now, they're talking about not selling them after 2030.
Right.
But, there's a transitional period. Also, the Inflation Reduction Act that was just passed offers incentives to homeowners who switch to induction stoves. You can get a nice chunk of money back for your induction stove for the cost of
which you'll need to pay for your pans.
Even so, there are
I'm right. No, I'm not dissing the incentives. I'm glad for them. I just like to say our house was built in 1977, and that was when the Carter administration was in effect. But this house was built to be energy efficient for the time that it was in, and so we have electric appliances in the kitchen. We do have a gas heater, but it could easily be electric. Same outside in the garage. You could have electric washer dryer or gas, either one. The reason that we could do or gas in any of these is because there was a huge freak out about the fact that they were going to be electric. They were intended to be electric. The ones across the lake are all electric. And there was this huge freak out that people couldn't, get gas, that they wanted gas. And the gas company was flipping a biscuit and everything else. So that's why we have dual hookups. But actually, the electric is more efficient.
That's nice.
And one of the benefits is that the electrical box is upped a couple of notches from what other houses built at this time frame were, so that it can handle the electricity that, the different, anyway.
That's great.
You didn't need to know all that, but just to say it's not terrible. Electric, it's not.
No, it's not.
It's actually pretty good.
Yeah. So yeah. So there you go. There's your outrage, because you've got multiple. I mean, Mercedes Schlapp and.
Oh, how do we not talk about Matt Schlapp?
Matt.
We're so
talked about him last week.
Matt, did you not talk about him last week when I wasn't here? Matt and Herschel Walker's aide?
We did.
Yeah, but there's more. I mean, there's text. Lordy, there are texts.
There are texts.
I mean, that's the.
I missed that.
Text and phone calls.
Ignore the news. Tell us.
Yeah, so the staffer who was groped basically produced real-time text messages that he had with Matt Schlapp, in addition to text messages he had with his superiors and friends.
Yeah.
Right, and phone calls.
Yep.
So Schlapp tried to call him a few times, and he wouldn't take the call. And then finally, Matt Schlapp texts him and says, well, if you find it in your heart to call me before you leave, please do. I mean, the staffer was like, he reported it right away to his superiors.
Really wanted nothing to do with it. The poor kid. I mean,
right. They got another driver to take care of it so that he didn't have to see him again. Wow. And one of the texts was that he really wanted me to go to his hotel room with him and everything. So, I mean, these are in real time. They're documentation that this actually happened. And Mercedes Schlapp is like, I take away my gas stove over my dead body. And we're like, we think you have bigger problems, Mercedes.
Yeah. But the thing is, can I just say in all of this that for all the shit we gave Herschel Walker, deservedly,
right?
Whoever he had working on his campaign handled this situation really well with this person who was abused, who was basically sexually assaulted.
Right.
And it sounds like the kid was really, I mean, I keep calling him a kid. I don't know. I'm not sure how old he was, but he seems like he was pretty young. They
usually is someone who's pretty young who gets
took him off the detail immediately. Didn't put him in the situation of having to face him again. No matter how influential Matt Schlapp is in Republican politics or whatever, he was just like, it sounds like he was really supported in the whole thing. And, so, I mean, good on Herschel Walker's staffers, I guess for helping this person. But oh my God, how gross is this couple? It's just like reminds me of Jerry Falwell, like that whole, it's like it
does. But
it's the same vibe.
That's what drives me crazy about all these morality police in the Republican Party is that they're all doing the things that they're complaining about, We didn't
talk about the bill about women wearing jackets in the Senate.
That's in the Michigan.
Oh, in Missouri.
In
Missouri.
It's Missouri.
No, that wasn't on the House.
No, it's not in national. It's Missouri.
It's national.
But it's still gross.
Yeah, it's gross.
I mean, it's still gross. So yeah, I mean, basically, it's not enough to just wear a nice, outfit. You have to have
bare your arms,
a jacket. You can't bare your arms, and
you have to wear a jacket. And the reason I thought it was in the House was because everybody was saying, "Well, I will when Jim Jordan does." So I thought they were talking about the House. Okay, good. Because I wouldn't put it past the Republicans in the
I wouldn't either. But you know what? I think Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert would have a fit.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't wear their ridiculous outfits.
Right.
Exactly. So, yeah.
Well, I think that that's been a week. That covers it.
It's been a week.
It has been a week.
Say that too.
God knows what we will talk about next week, but we'll be here at MOMocrats, momocrats.buzzsprout.com, our YouTube channel, your favorite podcast service like iTunes, Google, and Amazon Music, and our Facebook page for updates. I'm Donna Schwartz Mills with Aliza and Karoli saying goodbye for the MOMocrats. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
MOMocrats, part of the DemCast family of podcasts.